Okay, I'm beginning a walkthrough of my garden. I was going to do this earlier in the year, but just hadn't seemed to get started. This will be my watermelon patch. They are just starting to vine. They were started in trays and transplanted out. My sweet corn was planted 3 times this year. It just didn't want to grow. We're having a hot, dry spell, so I'm having to water, and my squash is still not looking too good. I have picked my peas twice so far, and they seem to be trying to die. My tomato patch, it seems to be doing quite well. I have some volunteer squash in those. There's some small tomatoes setting on. I have them tied up with concrete wire inside a post. It seems to work fairly well and is easy for one person to take down. My okra patch, I plant it much thicker than everyone else. Everybody wants small okra, and by planting the plants thick and weeding out a few of the smaller ones as they grow, the okra grows much smaller than it normally would if it was out very far. My cabbage plants are just about to start setting heads. With the heat, I'm wondering if they will make it or not. Broccoli is already starting to set heads a little early and a little small. My bell peppers are doing very well. I plant beets with my bell peppers, and they are starting to produce bulbs or roots. The bell peppers are, of course, beginning to bloom, so I'm watering them. There is a bloom. I think you can see it there. I have put in a fence this year in the middle, and I'm using half of a concrete wire and hooking it over the edges and putting it with posts, so as the bell peppers grow up through the tops, when the wind blows, it won't be falling over. Here's a volunteer hot pepper from last year. They got seated over here coming through. It'll have to be moved. Now, last year my entire garden was flat, and this year I've installed all of these raised beds. My potatoes got put in very early. Some of them are almost ready to dig, I believe. Oop, I scratched one accidentally. There is a potato. Pretty good size, setting on. Maybe a week, 2 weeks, those 4 will be dug. Younger ones planted where the first bunch and second bunch didn't come up. I just continually planted and planted. I believe this is the fourth planting. Onions the same way, continuing to plant. These were grown from seed and transplanted out here, as well were the leeks. My green beans were planted very early, with pole beans in the center and a row of bush beans on both sides, as well as beets at the ends, starting to get some size, and a pineapple to take over once the beets are harvested. I have several pineapples in the garden this year. One here in this pot, some honeydews, another cabbage patch here. They are beginning to form a head. Swiss chard, cauliflower, volunteer tomatoes coming up in them. I either need to get them pulled or transplanted quickly. Kale, a lettuce, more squash. This is spaghetti squash in the corner. A new grapevine, as well as another. A future patch of asparagus. Rhubarb as well will be transplanted out. Cabbage, or carrots. Hot peppers, as well as beets. Last year's asparagus patch. It is doing very well. Some better than others. These were purchased from roots. These smaller ones were grown from seed. Strawberries, a wild variety. They were grown from seed. My next asparagus patch, half of it has been planted, not quite half. Strawberry patch started this spring. Another pineapple, garlic, beets. This is my first year growing celery. It seems to be growing quite well. All grown from seed. Different varieties of cucumbers beginning to vine up. Two more pineapples. popcorn. I don't know if they'll make it, but as I was thinning it out, I planted a row down the middle, of course expecting some rain yesterday or the day before or today, and have not gotten it. Potatoes growing between my corn rows. Not to waste any space. Sunflowers in the cucumber patch. You should always plant sunflowers with your cucumbers. They will remove the chemical that causes the bitterness in the cucumbers, so that you have sweeter cucumbers. Mushmelon patch with a volunteer squash, volunteer tomato. There is some nice, looks like male blooms starting on the plants. This plant looks like it could use some water. Something seems to be affecting it. I'll have to look closer at it. More peanuts. These are a larger variety than I normally grow, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they turn out. Some more squash, zucchini and yellow crooked neck varieties, volunteer watermelons, of course, everywhere. This will be a celery patch. The celery plant you're looking at was planted yesterday, and due to the heat it's needing more water. Transplanted out into the garden yesterday. It was grown from a group of celery, a bunch of celery I purchased at the store. I ate the outsides and managed to root the center. The rest will be planted in small plants I've grown from seed. This is a carrot patch. They are just starting to come up. I don't know if you can make it out. I planted the seed on the surface and sprinkled a very thin coat of mulch over it. These peanuts were given a little water this morning, mostly evaporated by now. This I have just been working up. Another future asparagus patch. And another corner being cleaned out and expanding the garden into. I'm not sure what I'll be putting here under this tree, but a future small shade garden, most likely. And one of my favorite asparagus plants. It produces very large spears quite abundantly. And a few rhubarb plants I planted last summer. I'm hoping to get them to take off and fill in near the tree here, and to hopefully keep several weeds down. As well as most likely expanding my watermelon patch on over and finishing cleaning out under this tree, which I'll plant something that will grow in the shade. I've seen many videos on the internet, most from up north, California, Florida. This is southern Illinois. Much different growing around here. And hopefully in the future I will make more videos and keep everything updated.